So I'm in Lexington, Kentucky. And Kentucky is the 40th most dangerous state in America. So it's of the safer states in the United States. And Lexington is a safe city by all accounts. It's just a larger city. It has a population of 319,000, but it's been declining since 2020. Not unlike a lot of cities in America that lost population after 2020. The city's 68% white, 14% black, 7% Hispanic, and 4% Asian. And I apologize, we got stuck at a light right when I pulled into town. There we go. I don't expect this video to be very long. I don't expect to see anything bad in town either once we get into town. I don't expect it to be anything bad. It's a relatively safe city. It's just one of the larger ones in Kentucky, so I wanted to drive through it and just get a look at it, because sometimes cities start going bad and it's nice to have a record of what it looked like, you know, before. I'm not anticipating that, but just that's kind of why I'm driving through. The average age here is 35, and 18% of the population are seniors, which is makes it more of a little bit of a younger demographic. There's a 54% homeownership rate, which is 14% lower than the national average. But in my opinion, anything over 50% is good for a city of this size. And in my opinion, it makes cities safer. The more people that own a home in the city, in my opinion, it makes the city safer. And you'll see when we get to the crime stats of this city that will be a true thing. This city is really safe. They have good home ownership, and the crime isn't too bad here. The average income is around $46,000 a year, which is pretty good for a city of this size. It's actually really good. There's a 15% poverty rate, which sounds high, but that's actually really good, especially for a city of this size. There's a 44% marriage rate. Again, really good, especially for a city of this size. 58% of the people that live here were born either in Lexington or born in Kentucky. 10% are considered foreign born, and they show 7% non-citizens, which I always throw that stat in there, but you know, nobody really knows what the number really is, what the percent of non-citizens are, because unless the person admits to it, you know, you're never gonna know. It'll never make the census anyway. But a good majority, over 50% of the people were born either here or in Kentucky. Their murder rate is typically around 10, which in my opinion, it would be considered just regular city bad. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just what you'd expect to, you know, see or accept in a city, living in like the city limits. 10 is about what the murder rate of 10. It's just what you expect from living in a city. The assault rate is 135. Now, these numbers are all per 100,000 people. So the assault rate is 135, and that is really good. Like, really good. Even a city like Chicago, Chicago's assault rate is like in the 550 or something like that. And compared to a lot of cities, that's good. So having an assault rate of 135, there really just isn't that much violent crime here at all. The theft rate is about 2,000 per 100,000 people. And again, that's super good too. That's, you know, better than regular city bad. It's it's higher, but it's still better than what you would consider regular city bad. Your odds of becoming a victim of a crime here are 1 in 34. And we're just gonna keep getting stuck at lights, it looks like. Your odds of becoming a victim are 1 in 34. And for a city of this size, that's super good. A city of this size, typically it'd be around 1 in 25. So 1 in 34, it might sound like, you know, ooh, that's a lot or whatever, but it's not. It's really good for a city of this size. And typically a lot of that stuff happens in, you know, bad areas where if you stay out of those areas, you know, you'll be completely fine. The year-over-year crime here is showing a decrease of 1%, which isn't a big number, but their level of crime is not high anyway. So the fact that the city is decreasing it is a good sign for the city moving forward, because you're taking an already very safe city and making it safer. The schools here, 50% of the students graduate proficient at reading and math. That might sound bad, but the Kentucky average is 48%, and the US average is just 48% of the students who graduate high school being able to read and do math at a 12th grade level. America has gone downhill, and they're lagging behind the rest of the world as far as their education goes. They're not teaching the kids the basics anymore, and the kids are just graduating and they're not learning anything. So half, and I'd like to say that the 50%, I would like to say that that's bad, but cities of this size, typically that number would be closer to 40, if not in the 30s. So it sounds like a low number because it is a low number, but by American standards, it's really good. And by other American comparable sized cities, it's really good. 87% of the people that live here have completed the 8th grade, and 86% have a high school diploma or equivalent. Again, those numbers might sound low. Only 86% graduated high school. It might sound low, but again, for a city of this size, that is really good. And 41% of the people that live here that are of an age that have a bachelor's degree or better. That number is huge. That shows it's a well-educated city. And well-educated cities, even with the bad school, the 50% of the high school grads, you know, being able to read and do math at a 12th grade level, the higher the educated the city, typically the safer it is. Because it's not the type of people that are, you know, out committing at least the street crimes. They might be committing other crimes, but they're not committing the street crimes. And I looked through, I thought, well, the crime in this city is really good. So I looked through the areas that were listed as the bad areas of town, and they really weren't even bad. I mean, this city, anywhere else, it wouldn't even be a blip on the radar of a city to drive through as far as crime goes. And really the only reason I'm driving through it is its population is so large that you kind of have to see. I mean, it's kind of unbelievable how good the crime is here for how big the city is. Because you get like, I'm trying to think of another city that's the same size. I think like St. Paul, Minnesota would probably be equivalent. That's around 300,000. This is maybe a little bit bigger than that. And the crime there, the murder rate there here it's about 10. The murder rate there is probably closer to 14. Still not bad. I can't think of a city that's this size that's really bad that I could compare it to off the top of my head. But it's seriously, it's not, this is a very, as far as crime goes, safe city. And the only real knock on it, and it's not even a knock because it's better than the national average, is the schools. But if you wanted to move to a larger city and, you know, live somewhere that's safe, and you were willing to, if you had kids, you know, do the research to find which schools are the good ones so that you move into a neighborhood that the schools are good and are going to teach your kids something, This would be a good place to go. I don't know why their population is declining, but it started declining like a lot of cities did in 2020. And maybe all these people here just moved over into Tennessee or something, because Tennessee got a bulk of people moving in, and maybe, I don't know. I didn't see any spikes in the crime that were significant on any level here that would have chased people out like they did a lot of cities. The crime spiked really high and people were just trying to get out. I didn't see that. But I mean, the streets are, there's leaves falling from the trees that are on the side of the roads, but the streets are for the most part clean. I haven't seen a whole bunch of homeless people. Those guys are just hanging out there, but I don't think they were homeless. I haven't seen a whole ton of homeless people. Let's just drive down some of these smaller roads and see what they look like. Look at this. This is a road that you would expect. Look at how clean that sidewalk is. Look at how clean that sidewalk is. And this is like a back, it almost looks like almost a back alley road in a way. And that is really clean, that sidewalk. And looking up and down the street in each direction, it looks clean. This is a city that actually cares enough to keep it clean. I haven't seen any graffiti. I didn't expect to see any. And I haven't seen any homeless people either. The pavement is just average on the roads, which is the other thing I look at, is how bad the pavement is, because sometimes you get in some of these cities and you can barely even drive down the roads because they're so just beat up. But these roads, they're not like super good, but they're not bad either. But I'm not going to drive through too much more of this. Like I said, it's a safe city. And if you're looking for somewhere to live that's affordable, that, you know, the crime is good, or the level of crime is acceptable, this would be a good place to go. Got a lot of people on this road. This would be a good city to move to if you want to move into Kentucky. I stopped at a gas station because I was driving from, I was driving into here, but I was in the outskirts quite a bit, and I drove into a gas station, and people kind of were looking at me like, you don't belong here, like, because they'd never seen me before. And I was in a smaller town, so they probably expect to see other people, and it kind of like made me a little uncomfortable for a second, but it wasn't in a bad kind of way or anything. It was just, who are you? Because everybody knew everybody. They were all talking to each other. Everybody knew everybody, and I was kind of like walking in as, an outsider, so people were just kind of looking at me like, but it was a gas station. It was in a smaller town. It wasn't like on the, interstate or anything. It was in a smaller town. So it made sense, but that's the only knock I've seen on even Kentucky as a whole. You got the good old boys who are all talking to each other, and they all say, "Hello there, young man," to, some guy that's probably, 80 or 70 years old, because that's just how they talk here. And it's kind of, it's kind of refreshing in a way, I guess. So I'm going to let this play out for just a minute, and then we'll just let this video end for Lexington, Kentucky. Hopefully you got something out of it and it was entertaining enough. It's, like I said, it's a safe place. I don't know where it ranks for as far as the most dangerous ones in the state. It wasn't in the top 10. And like I said, I only drove through it because with the population as large as it is, it's surprisingly safe. I mean, like, really good safe. And I should have looked up some more comparable cities. I know St. Paul, Minnesota is worse, and I know that's around 300,000. This is 317. I'm trying to think of other cities. I know some of the cities in Ohio I've been in are around 300,000, and they're way worse. I just don't know the stats off the top of my head because it's been a while since I went through there. But yeah, if you're looking for a place and you don't mind doing the research to find a good school for your kids, it might be a good place to move to, or a good place to live. It's a bigger town with a very small town feel to it. I'm gonna get through this light. Nope, almost made it. But it's got a good feel to it. All right, thanks for watching.